Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street, a Hedera Hashgraph video for you guys today, HBAR on the exchange. Don't actually remember the last time I did an HBAR video, but it's always one of the projects that sat nicely in my portfolio. I think it was about a month ago actually, it was the last one after the ETF information or rumours coming out. That's still in play, still a conversation of course. But we'll just do a quick recap on the chart and everything, a bit more of a relayed information as well as to the prospect in my mind, certainly, personally, as to why this is a long-term hold. Certainly something that we could potentially take advantage of in the near future as well, particularly in 2025. But it's definitely got some absolutely fantastic leverage to it in terms of its technical and technological ability. And of course, that powerhouse behind it, or powerhouses, when we look at that governance aspect, who's behind, who's on the board of Hedera. We'll have a bit of a recap on that because those that are new to crypto and blockchain may not know, or certainly would like to do maybe some extra research after seeing videos like this, when you see some really top level projects and companies in the blockchain space that sometimes don't get talked about too much unless you've already been with them for the last few years. So whilst we always talk about memes and AIs and things like this, we must always never forget the legacy infrastructure projects that are out there, which ultimately, in my opinion, all the money will be coming back to you eventually at some point. So before we do that, of course, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button as well if you're enjoying the content. Leave your comments below on anything related to price predictions, feedback on the channel. Of course, any projects you want us to cover. I'm hopefully going to go back to doing 2 or 3 a day as of the end of this weekend. So keep an eye out for all those videos coming out. But let's talk about Hedera really quickly. First and foremost, as I said, we'll go into the chart detail and more specific areas towards the end of this video. But a quick recap just from CoinMarketCap. Current market cap on Hedera as of recording, 13.25 billion. Fantastic, incredible. The volumes are still amazing per day. Some of them, reflecting well over the billion mark on a daily basis. Something really that hasn't even been hit back in those 2021 periods. So it really does show you how much more awareness crypto has and how much more volume is being injected into the markets these days. And even with projects like Hedera that have been around for a number of years, going back to my point earlier, I think this is one of those legacy projects, infrastructures that people will come back to over these coming years. Once they've made money elsewhere, that it will definitely get injected into the, what I call like the top projects in crypto. And Hedera, in my opinion, is definitely one of those. Scrolling back down here very quickly, all-time high back in 2021 at 57 cents, all-time low 2020 at 1 cent. I can't remember when I was buying Hedera just after March 2020. I'm not quite sure what the price was there, but I think it was around something like 2 cents or something. So, for those that have been involved with Hedera for a long time, I mean, I didn't take any sale profits or anything in this big period here. I was just too excited about the number. Definitely something I've learned for this time around in 2025 for sure. But yes, I think, in my opinion, there's a lot more to come from Hedera price point wise, and especially in 4 or 5 years time, and obviously beyond that. We'll come back to those points later in the video. Of course, a multitude of markets and exchanges that you can buy the token on as well if anyone's interested. But yeah, it's definitely poised for an incredible future. So for Hedera, for me, one of the main reasons why I got into this project, we'll talk about the partnership / governance aspect in a minute. But predominantly it was because of the direct cyclic graph protocol or technology that's ultimately behind Hedera, how it works. So those that have watched our channel videos before in relation to the likes of IOTA or even Constellation or the DAG token will understand or maybe know more about the direct cyclic graph mechanism. For me, I always kind of called it an evolution of blockchain, even though it isn't really an evolution, but it's kind of like the next step of how everything will integrate with each other, including the integration of things like AI, IoT, etc., etc. Of course, you've got big narratives from the last few years of real world assets, or the tokenization of those that can include multitude of things all the way through healthcare, real estate, you name it. Really taking control of that. The NFT aspect, of course, has been huge over the last few years, not necessarily the artworks of apes and things like that, but more so NFT application in general of any physical form of asset or digitalization of it can be a non-fungible token and be tokenized in that fashion on the blockchain for verification, processing, validity, the transaction itself for sure. All incorporated with all the other things as well. And there's so many other areas, of course, Hedera takes care of, but it's that DAG system that was always important to me, in my opinion. So just to really recap quickly on that, it's kind of the emphasis really, if you think of a blockchain in a linear format going literally horizontal, but then you could add like maybe a 4D diagram. So we're talking about going all different ways, all different directions, and each end of these spectrums has the ultimate result of what's trying to be done. So it could be anything simply. One of the great examples I like to kind of put into the equation here is things like when, let's say, you're buying something from your fridge. Now, fridges with barcode scanners and things like that have been around for years, but the general concept of that actually now moving forward can be that if you were taking something out of your fridge or you wanted to order something, the whole system would already know. AI would be able to then be integrated to help with the supply and demand mechanism in real time. This means that drones and things could harvest and seed things in fields, etc., if it's that kind of produce, obviously. Or manufacturing and logistics aspects will know when to pick things, how to deliver them, drone deliveries, etc. Like all of these things, including things like ordering via your phone or on the laptop, or in the near future, obviously retina displays and things like that. We're talking about the future concepts here of how this will work. Every single element, every single bit of that path, every single bit of that journey of your produce or your service or your product, material, whatever it might be, every single element to that, from the buying process to the selling process to the manufacturing to the logistics, the delivery, the transportation, the customs, everything will be classed as a transaction, a transfer of an action. Now, for direct-to-cyclic graph, this means that it can all work simultaneously. So yes, you've got the linear approach of the blockchain working side by side as chains get processed and validated onto the next chain, onto the next chain. The DAG system allows all of those different areas, those different directions to come and conclude into one within milliseconds. So that's why we talk about the transactions per second as a topic in most crypto videos, but a lot of people don't talk about the ability of why is that important? Why is that important? So if you think about Hedera here, this is even without like proper integration or adoption yet. Yes, it's got some aspects of that, real case studies, especially in the financial world, etc. But this gives you an example: 657,000 transactions in the last 24 hours. This does not necessarily always imply financial transactions, i.e. me passing money to someone else and vice versa. It means all of these aspects that we just talked about. And as I said, you can apply that methodology to any sector and any industry in the world. But equally, when we come back to the price points later or predictions aspects, that's where we need to coordinate in our minds where we are with this technology right now. We're in the early stages, okay? Yes, some of these projects have been around for 5-10 years. That doesn't matter. If the world's not ready for it yet, it's not ready. But now, more things are happening than ever before. We've obviously got, look at the news in the last 24, 48 hours about the AI aspects from the Trump administration. Obviously, Elon's had a big say in this from the AI side. It's those kind of things, these new policies, these investment protocols come into play, then all of the infrastructure gets put in quicker than ever before. Money gets thrown at it. Then, from an investor's perspective, people who don't know about crypto or blockchain or stocks or finance in general start asking the question, I want to make money off this. What are the projects involved? And this is where they do their research on channels or reading articles, whatever it might be. They'll either jump in not knowing what they're doing, or they'll be doing their research and coming to projects like this. Hands down, that is truly what I believe, and that's truly what I see happening, certainly in the next 4 or 5 years. So yes, we can have these market trends, etc. Next bull cycles potentially in 28, 2030. Maybe they're the last ones we'll ever get involved in before CBDCs and things like that fully take over our money. Who knows? But the point being is that right now, people are having a better understanding of where we are with everything. It's maybe gone beyond that excitement phase that we had in 2021, where people like myself, to be fair, in 2019, 2020 were coming on board. Lots of people may have laughed at that and go, oh, we've been here for like 10 years. I would never laugh at anyone that came in now or in 5 years' time, because what it means is it's good news for us as original investors, but it's also good news for those that are coming in where they might just be able to catch the train to make some profits, make their lives better in whatever way that is, or other people's lives. Who knows? So everyone's got goals and theories around that. But I think personally, Hedera is 100% one of those top level projects in the sphere of crypto, in the sphere of blockchain. So we talked about all these different elements of Hedera. When I talked about partners earlier, this is really interesting. So not only have they got partnerships and integrations already, they've also got a gigantic governance system, the Hedera Council. Now, some of the ones, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the key ones that probably stand out in people's minds and through their eyes right now, likes of Google, IBM, LG Electronics, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom. There's loads of them. There's universities in there, for God's sakes. From that aspect, I mean, there's a multitude of them, and these all help towards governing Hedera. There's still places, by the way, for a few more. Who knows who they will be? But some of these have been around for a long time. They're helping make decisions and the directions of Hedera, where we're going to be. When we talk about the DAG system and all those things working together, don't you think it's really applicable that companies like this are involved? Because they're ultimately going to be the ones either adopting the likes of Hedera or certainly pushing the integration of them. So when you've got big powerhouses, especially in the tech world, of like Google and IBM, for example, you've got LG, who are very heavily orientated around Internet of Things at the moment. You know, Wi-Fi related washing machines, dishwashers, you name it, all on there. Payment systems, gaming, banking in general, telecoms in general. Can you see the pattern? If you can't, I don't know how best to explain this further, but the fact of the matter is that all of this means something. Integration, oracles, you name it. Already that's just the governing body, let alone the partnership aspects and already the existing integrations. They're huge. And this will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger and better over the next few years. I was very fortunate to be able to done AMAs with the Hedera team last year when I was working with Paris Blockchain Week temporarily. It was fantastic. Their minds are another level. Absolutely incredible team behind them. And of course, the building continuously of the Hashgraph Association as well, the partnerships involved. I mean, this is one of the recent ones. Take it for however you want as a piece of news, you know, how big or small that is. But for me, I mean, it's just continuation. It's continuation of this. I don't like to use the words partnerships too much. I think a lot of that sometimes can just be marketing notions for usually the company that's onboarding things like Hedera. It's a big shout out for them, more so than the other way around to an extent in some cases. That's no disrespect to this, and it's certainly not I'm certainly not picking this out as an example. I'm just saying that as an overview, as an overall generic assumption and thought. But yeah, I mean, Hedera, it absolutely ticks the boxes with so many. You know, competitor wise, yeah, it's very difficult because it does have that DAG protocol. But in terms of the infrastructure, I would say you're looking, obviously, the likes of Cardano, Solana, Polkadot, maybe Algorand as well, of course. IOTA we've mentioned from the DAG perspective. You could argue Constellation, albeit we've said in previous videos, we still need some more further use cases from them. IOTA is a bit different because it's very heavily orientated with the EU Blockchain Association right now for the framework of the entirety of the European Union, which is phenomenal. Ethereum obviously is one, albeit that it has the EVM integration already, so the virtual machine, to help operate, to help scale itself correctly using the Ethereum protocol as well. So it's not necessarily a competitor, it's actually probably using them most. But those ones I've mentioned, I would probably say are the closest in terms of the scalability aspect and maybe the enterprise adoption aspect. Algorand in particular is heavily involved in a lot of enterprise level at the moment. A lot of the others are involved in their own different ways and being built on in their own different ways as well. So I do think Hedera is a form of uniqueness to an extent, but also shares some of those ecosystem capabilities that a couple of others do as well. I don't think it's necessarily a race. Of course, they're all going to compete, but there's also going to be no one winner. So I think is really important. Like when the web bubble occurred in 90s or whenever, there were like thousands upon thousands of companies, and then over the 20-30 year period, that got chopped down significantly. You have the big players like Apple, Google, etc. And there's still, of course, some smaller ones available here, there, and everywhere. But it slowly gets chipped away. And I've got this thought and feeling and opinion that in, say, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time, Hedera will be one of those that is definitely at the top. So as an investor, when people like look in 20 years time, they go, oh, I wish I was around or involved in investing 20 years ago when it was this price. That is the now. That is now. So people might get excited. Well, actually, in fact, we can talk about the chart price now. Let's just switch my screen. People get excited about what's to come in 2025, of course, because they want to see some short-term gains. They want to see some profits and claim they made money, etc. But for me, yeah, okay, I could have made some money here, sold it, bought back in down here. I would have been, God knows how many more quadruples or whatever on my portfolio of Hedera. But saying that, we've had an upscale really from 5 cents all the way up here to 38 cents in the space of 2 months. So we're seeing almost a repeated pattern that we saw in 2021 earlier, really, in terms of if you want to match it cycle per cycle. We could argue that we're here. We need some stability and then an upward trend. Who knows where this could go? My point being is that if you look for the long term, I mean, there's an argument, there's articles I've seen, price predictions of between maybe like $5 beyond. Me personally, as you know, I'm not a huge fan of predictions, but I think a conservative estimate for 2025 could be up to $2. So between that $1.50 and $2, if we're going on based on the current movements that we've seen, based on the traction from before, and based on the fact that we've got other variables of integration, adoption, we've got a bigger governance circle in Hedera as well. All it takes is the marketing and more things like we just mentioned about Trump and AI. If they start talking further about crypto and blockchain and this, that, and the other, it's going to fly. It's going to absolutely fly. So that's conservative, I think, optimistically, and something that I mentioned way back in the early videos that we did on Hedera back in 2021. And this was off the back, by the way, of a video I watched of Cheeky Crypto. I don't even know if it exists still. One of the first ever videos they did before they, made it big and went to Dubai, etc. They did a really cool video with a simple Excel sheet of their predictions for 2025 and how many of each asset you needed to potentially get to become a millionaire or hold £1 million. Now, at the time, I didn't have that much money to get to the asset levels it needed. So I did my best in this period, but I made up for it in these bear markets. I made that lesson. I made that learning. Everyone out there is at different time scales and different points in time. So there's no right and wrong. You learn along the way. It might not even be this cycle you learn. It might be the next one. Who knows? Don't stress. Don't be emotional about it. Just take all of these learnings as a great step in the right direction. But to my point was that they had this really cool Excel sheet. I think Hedera was on there. I'm pretty sure Algorand was on there. There's a few others like obviously Polyon. There's Polymath. Some of those you out there might know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Hedera was one of them. I was getting frustrated because I wasn't hitting those number accumulations. But anyway, the prediction 2025, if I remember correctly, was between $3 and $5 for 2025. So we are already, I would say, maybe 10% of the way. If it doesn't conclude in that way and the cycle does what everyone is thinking and perceiving it will do in 2025, I don't think that is a crazy observation. The $1.50 to $2 I think is definitely achievable. Towards $3 to $5, a lot needs to happen. Even on those longer term approaches in the previous videos, the maximum fib level up here was around $2. So that does maybe instate with the fact of the conservative approach. But for me personally, I think if you're going to look at way beyond that number, well, it's quite difficult to kind of fully portray that. But the maximum up here, if I took one of the highs and the lows of all time, it's taken up to about $3. Let us know what you think on that. By 2030, I think definitely between 5 and 7, and maybe even optimistically up to $15. I'm not going to be one of those that says it's going to be $10,000, $20,000. No. And I'm not doing it conservatively to be like, oh, yeah, cool, we hit the minimum, we know what we're talking about. No one knows the exact answers, but what I'm suggesting is we have to take loads of different variables. So for me, I take that with all with a pinch of salt, but what it does help me do is go, right, I've got some targets, and I've got an ability here now in the charts to formulate a plan of where I want to buy and where I want to sell. I've already done my buying with Hedera. I'm not going to be buying anymore. We're already on the upward trend. That doesn't mean that everyone out there should be doing the same thing. Do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor at all. It's more where you feel like it might be getting to and hit those targets. If it doesn't come in, you wait for the next cycle, or you wait completely for the bear market's the next one. Try and not get too crazy when it's going absolutely crazy, or do any FOMOing like I did back here, where you sting yourself in the rear end, and take that longevity approach. There's definitely time for Hedera and many other assets for the next 10, 15 years. Okay, they might not be at the really low prices that we've seen, but they're still in that availability area, right? Affordability, or no matter what you're buying or how many you're buying of each, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. It could be $100. It could be $10. Who cares? It's about your gains, your percentage gains. So for me at the moment, I'm sitting there going, well, 35 cents, great. If I was buying it, between 2 and 10 cents, it's a good start. But if it starts getting towards the, maybe some of these markers where I got 74 cents to the the $1 mark, wow, happy days. I'm definitely going to be doing something interesting there. I will probably wait just a bit further, may bite me on this, but maybe towards the 45 to 50 cent mark again, if that does come in, to take those initial investments out like I'd missed out on 2021. I accumulated a lot more with Hedera in that big bear market. It was boring as hell. And that's when it's best time to buy, right? When it starts getting interesting, it's time to start thinking about some selling patterns. So then my initial targets really, first and foremost, are there of initial investment takeout. And as I said, this is just me, not for anyone else out there. You might follow a similar pattern, who knows? They're my next 2 levels. I'm not going to consider the ones higher than that until we get nearer that point. I'm not thinking in my mind that from now to the next month, we're going to go all the way up here that quickly. No chance. The amount of money that needs to come in for that to happen is phenomenal. We're already at a huge market cap. A lot of circulation already taken up. It will take a substantial amount of money, narrative, the other variables kicking in for us to get there. It will absolutely do it in the long term. I'm talking about the short term. In 2025, that's why I would like to think that $5 is achievable, but I would like to see us get to the dollar first before we make those conclusions further. That's my approach to it. I'm not one, as I said, to sit there and go, yeah, it's going to be $10, it's going to be $20, just to get the views or whatever. Because I've got my own strategy to think about. And there's no point me shouting about $10, $20 when I don't even have that plan myself. So I'm not going to do that. But the RSIs on the bottom left here at the 50 level-ish, would suggest that we can go either way at the moment with the current price point, the current area that it's in. So we just need to keep an eye on that first and foremost. And if we do manage to gain some support at this current level, or just around this sort of 30 cent level, we can start pushing up to the higher markers for sure. But yeah, for now, I think personally, we just need to wait maybe a few more days to see where that concludes itself before we do a potential uprise further. You can see this level, I think about on 36 or 37 cents. It's been hit twice now in the last, say, month, 2 months nearly. So we just need to try and reach that again, but get some stability slightly above that, because then we can start testing that sort of 42 cent area and potentially push up towards the 49 and then the 57. That's taking a couple of elements from the midterm and the short-term chart fib levels here as well. On the downward side, if we reject this current area that it's currently sitting on, literally bang on almost, you can't quite see it because it's literally in line. I'm just going to try and move that so we can see it. You see just a little purple line here. This is from the previous video that we did, so I haven't put these in today. You see we're playing with that area. If we can't support that level, we could then potentially start testing the 30 cents and the 26 cents again. So potential buying opportunities there for those that do have the long-term goals, haven't got into Hedera yet, but do maybe potentially anticipate those sort of maybe $1 to $2 marks. You've also got to think about it, guys, like what is your actual target? I mean, for me personally, 35 cents to $1 isn't that interesting. From that perspective, which is why I'm not buying now. I won't be buying Hedera until the bear markets again. That's me personally. So you just got to accommodate in your minds where you think it will be getting to. but also how far down the line would you want to go with Hedera? If you're buying 35 cents now for the anticipation of $5, $10, $15 in say 5-10 years time, fair enough. If you're looking for those short-term gains, yes, as we said, $3, $5 is maybe possible in 2025. So you could get some form of return, but of course that just depends on how much capital you're putting in. So there's all these things to consider. As I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving my thoughts and feelings based on my previous experiences and things that I made mistakes on in the past. So that's what the channel is about the education element. It's also about sharing thoughts, ideas, opinions, experiences. Likewise with everyone in the comments, which I thank everyone for all their different thoughts, feelings of like what they did wrong, what they did right, what they think is going to be happening. Because then you can make proper, assertive decisions in your mind, or at least create a plan. I think that's the most important thing in any market, and especially to remove the emotion, not FOMO in, just look back sometimes, like zoom out, but also anticipate like where are your actual targets. Don't get dragged in by strange videos that keep saying like this token is going to be $10,000, $20,000, whatever, without any legitimate reasoning behind it. They always talk about the variables, this, that, whatever, but there's no substance to most of them. So just be cautious, guys. Like I've fallen for it before in the past, of course. Make your own assumptions, decisions. By all means, take all the various information, but try and conclude something that works for you. Not everyone's got the same ambition or the same targets or same thoughts, so it's really important that you do that. That's my passing comment, really, towards the end of this video. Let's do an update one soon. If anything drastic happens with Hedera, I'll do a YouTube short. But until then, guys, thanks for watching this one. We'll see you in the next Hedera update. Bye-bye.